What's up there? So if you're familiar with my videos at all, which you probably aren't because I've released maybe 8 so far, this looks nothing like how I normally do my videos. I kind of wanted to just give myself an opportunity to get better at talking in front of a camera without a script. I script all my videos, so I'm actually just reading line by line. That's why there's a lot of editing in my other videos. I have some notes here, but other than that, I just wanted to kind of do some editing and just chat for a bit, kind of just go over some thoughts I've had in the last few days. This image will definitely be out by the time I release this. Definitely looks pretty weird before the final edit, but it'll all make sense by the time it's released. But yeah, so basically, to start off, a buddy of mine sent me a meme the other day. And at first, you know, it's by this guy Jojo's art on Instagram, so shout out to him for making this. It's clever, you know, it's funny. After 4 years of hard work, I present to you the Mona Lisa. It's Leo just chilling here. And some dude today biting his hand because he hasn't posted work in 3 days and people must think he's dead. And like at first reading of this, I saw it and I was like, oh, that's funny, that's clever. You know, like people are definitely way too concerned with how they like post online and stuff like that. But I think also the meme kind of just like is void of context in the sense that like guys like Leonardo da Vinci and I don't know, all these like master artists that you hear of, it's not like the vast majority of them were literally supported by like wealthy barons and like aristocracy and people like that. These weren't just people who, I mean, I'm sure there were. My art history is actually pretty terrible, but point being that the meme just I missed a bit of context that was kind of bothered me a bit, because in the sense that like, yeah, like everybody kind of complains about just how they have to like do all these things for social media, and a lot of people are like, man, I hate doing this, like I want to just make art and everything, and I totally get that, because myself included, you know, it's work. Like I don't want to be posting on social media constantly. Like it's another like part of your job as an artist, I guess, if you really want to build an audience. But it's also an incredible blessing at the same time that I think none of us really like keep in perspective enough, myself included. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this today, that like we don't need anybody anymore. Like obviously these platforms are basically the closest thing to a middleman that we have today, but compared to how things were like 30 years ago, man, like we have it so good. Like I would gladly like have to rely on like building an audience myself than literally being at the mercy of people who are either paying directly for my projects via patronage like a few hundred years ago or even like 100 years ago, or if you're working like exclusively with galleries where basically if you want to make it, quote unquote, you have to basically do exactly what they want you to do. So I don't know, that kind of relationship in general, it can be good. Obviously, like I work with a gallery, they're great. I never once have felt like they were pressuring me to do anything I didn't want to do. They've helped me grow in a lot of different ways and I'm super thankful to them. But if you only have that as your like option in terms of getting out there and having your work seen, I think that kind of sets up like not a toxic relationship necessarily, but like it's definitely a power imbalance. And at least with like having to post your stuff on social media, you are directly in control of it. You can choose how much you want to post. You can choose how much you want to like reply to your community and things like that. Like if you really wanted to, you can just, and I know a lot of people do this, and it honestly kind of frustrates me, but I get why people do it, because nobody wants to spend like 2 hours a day responding to every single DM. But if you really wanted to, you could just post art and like bail, you know, and just dip and just be like, cool, closing the app. And I really kind of respect people who do that in a lot of ways, because I mean, respect might be a strong word in the sense that like they don't need to reply to everybody, or they don't feel the need to, at least to the point where it's not gonna come back at them. And I'm wording this terribly in the sense that they're doing so well, or it seems like they're doing so well, that they really don't need to kind of reply to every comment, or they don't need to like really show the people that take the time to leave a nice comment on their videos how much they value that kind of input. And I know personally, I reply to like every single comment, and it does take time, and it is time I could be spending like doing what I'm doing right now. You know, I'm editing a photo right now. I'm doing kind of the boring part of some compositing work, which takes a while, and which is another reason why I figured I would talk to a camera while I do this instead of just editing this in silence. Although there's nothing wrong with that. I just figured, like I said, I want to just get better at stream of consciousness talking. And yeah, that's basically what I had to say about that in general. And yeah, I think just a lot of people really take their platforms for granted. Like, yes, I understand, like I said, nobody wants to spend an hour every day doing that kind of thing, but like, man, you can make such a difference in somebody's life, like, and not even just like in a trivial way, like, oh, like they noticed me, like that's cool, but I mean legitimately in the sense that like you can inspire somebody. Like, I don't know, if you like, there's some people, and I'm not like a big photographer or anything like that. I'm just a dude who puts stuff on Instagram and other websites, and I know personally that some people have like kind of tripped over like the fact that I reached out to them, and that really makes me sad, you know. Like, I think as artists, at least, if you want to kind of relate to normal people, you should be talking to normal people. And again, I totally get it if you don't have any desire whatsoever to talk to like every single person that comments on your stuff, but I don't know, man, I think that's just such a missed opportunity. Like, these are people that love your work, you know, and like, I don't know, you don't need to be their best friend or anything like that. Like, that can be kind of a weird area to go into as well, where people kind of, because they follow your work and stuff, and I've only experienced like a smidgen of like weird parasocial relationships, because I can imagine things get really weird when you're like, I don't know, somebody who has like screaming fans like that level. Like, if you actually can't go in public spaces, that must be terrifying. But even just for myself, it can be kind of weird. So it's definitely a weird dynamic to operate through, because it's definitely, the internet's been around for a while now, and there have been artists making livings on the internet for a while now, but it's not like something that you can just kind of like plot in your numbers and like replicate results. Everybody's gonna have different results regardless of the quality of the work, regardless of the kind of work you do. Like, I've been trying to post almost every day. I've been doing like a photo every week roughly, or at least posting a new photo every week. I do multiple shoots during a week. Like, for example, today's Monday when I'm filming this, the 15th? Yes, it's the 15th. Only an hour left in the day. It's 11, almost 11. But like, I did like a shoot on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday with my buddy Jamie, who actually sent me the meme. And yeah, there's the first part of the meme as well, which is, yeah, it's whatever. Like, I get it. You put your validation in like others, and that's dangerous too. But point being, damn, I totally lost my train of thought. Yeah, doing this without a script and just kind of talking is definitely not easy, but I don't know, something I want to try to do. And if you're listening to this, God have mercy on your soul. No, but seriously, if you are listening to this, thank you for listening. I'm just, I don't know, trying to be a bit more real and not being like my most PR'd version of myself. And I figure if I can get some work done while I do this and make more content constantly, never-ending content machine, why the hell not? What else? Oh yeah, me and my buddy, this is something that I was thinking about the other day too. Well, I always think about this, but I enjoy talking with creatives about this in general, like the perspective of how our work is, how do I put this? Sometimes I'll be making something and I'm like, man, this is a dope idea. This is going to perform so well. I like to think I have a good taste, or a good like gauge of what people will like, especially having had a bit of an audience for a long enough time that I know what images of mine have performed well, quote unquote, on the internet, that I like to think I have a gauge of it. But then once in a while I'll post something, I'm like, man, this is like one of my best images in a long time. And then it gets like no love online. I'm like, I don't know, it's just really frustrating, but also really interesting that like something that you think is really good can be completely like shit on by people on the internet. I don't know. I think that's keeping that in mind when you're making art, in the sense that as much as it is definitely personal expression and all these things, like when you get to a certain level, I feel like you definitely, even if you're not consciously thinking of it or keeping it in mind, like you're aware that you know what people like. Like, again, similarly, kind of like what I was saying before, I can't imagine if you're like someone with actual screaming fans, if you're somebody with screaming fans, like if you don't deliver, they're gonna be, I don't know, they're gonna be pissed. Like, you either do the same thing over and over and over and kind of rot inside, but you get love from people, or you actually experiment and piss some people off. Like, I know people who have insane talent. They have like ridiculous amounts of talent, but I just see them posting the same kind of thing over and over and over, and it's so disappointing. And like, I'm kind of like that too, you know? There's some images, some ideas I have where I'm like, this is not like my magnum opus. This is not the best thing I've ever made, but it's worth making. And so I do it, and it's a good way to kind of flex the muscle at the same time. But I don't know, I just see a lot of people who get way too comfortable way too soon. And this sounds like I'm talking smack, and I would never call out somebody in particular. And like I said, I'm guilty as well. Like, I do this as well. I really wish people would not necessarily, I wish that they would kind of just do their own thing and be more willing to piss people off, or at least more willing to like not get validation through like likes on Instagram or something. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of word vomit is coming out here, just literally stream of consciousness type stuff. So if you're listening to this and you're like, man, this guy kind of sounds like he's rambling, it's because I'm literally just thinking and talking. Yeah, that was my idea going into this. I just wanted to talk about some like rough topics in general, roughly go over some topics like social media and art, and how the climate of like an artist online, like just having to deal with that. And like, this is just from my very privileged perspective as somebody who like, I mean, I'm not the most privileged person in the world. I still have like a day job. I work part-time taking photos for a small business here in Montreal, and that pays like most of my bills. But my personal, like, my sole proprietorship, Sean Mundy, you know, the photo stuff, that's like 1/3 of my income, almost getting near like half, which is really cool. And the goal ideally is to go full-time doing this. And this is another element of, or another thing that I'm doing to try to like hopefully bring that forward, hit my mic. Just to kind of show people more things like this and to create more content and to kind of build a world around that. Again, lost my point. My notes, I've ran out. So, but yeah, basically that was the point of this. I just wanted to go over how it might be annoying being an artist today, having to post online and like do the whole like wearing 80 hats at the same time. I think it is also like a really privileged position to be in, that like if you find something that you love to do and you don't mind doing it often and you can somehow monetize it, be it art, be it, I don't know, public speaking or writing music, anything like that, like, man, you can, I don't know. There are obviously different obstacles for everybody to go through, and I know it sounds super, I don't know, naive to just kind of sit here and be like, oh yeah, anybody can do it, because it's not necessarily true that anybody can, because I don't know, like, some people are terrible at talking and some people are terrible at like presenting themselves. Like, you can have the best art in the world, but if you have really bad marketing skills or really bad like PR, like, you're not gonna be successful. And not that I am somebody who is knowledgeable in these fields at all. I'm just as unsuccessful as like most people in the grand scheme of things. Like, obviously goals, like I said, do this full time, just do music and photos, do videos, kind of thing like this. Eventually do live streams, stuff like that. This is actually a big reason why I'm doing this too, is to get better at just talking and unprompted without like having a script and having to read off of it. But yeah, I think I'll wrap that up. So as you can see, I'm just cutting stuff out here, and eventually this will be on top of a power line pole that I shot outside of my apartment. This image is called Conduit. By the time I release this video, phone's going off. By the time I release this video, by the time I release this video, the photo will definitely be out already. So I'll most likely film another video showing the finalized version of this image in the final Photoshop document, showing you how I like clipped it all down. But other than that, if you actually listen to this whole thing, God bless your soul. Thank you. Yeah, I'll do this more often in the future. I need more structure for sure, but this is just me experimenting and trying something new. And if you like the sound of my voice as much as I do, maybe you'll have enjoyed this video. Who knows? I hope you all do well. Right now things are pretty wild between COVID and everything that's going on globally. Humanitarian crisis is galore, police brutality. I don't want to get into that right now because that's some real stuff. And although I think that's another thing too, man. Like, as artists and like people who work from, we rely on the public's perspective, or not necessarily the public's perspective, but we rely on eyes. We require like attention. And as much as we need art, like for our souls and everything, a lot of other things really need our attention as well. And I definitely am going to be doing more pushing of like agendas in the future, and definitely just kind of put my heart on my sleeve in terms of the things that I believe, and not be afraid of being more political and being more open with my belief sets and things like this, and championing any causes that I can to hopefully help, because I'm just one dude. But if everybody does a little bit of something, who knows what we can do. You can slowly release the like tight grasp of like racism and capitalism, kind of crony capitalism at least, and this is a completely different topic for another time. But yeah, so I will leave you with that. If you like my work, you can check out my portfolio in the description. Some prints. You can subscribe to my newsletter / mailing list. It's all there. And I hope you have a great day. Cheers.